Not sure. I mean, because if you look at the last 4 years, disbursements have not happened. Today morning, I was reading the news article. According to the news articles, it's not happened, which
Yep.
means obviously there is a slow growth because the target was 25% utilization within 2 years, 65% not utilization, the value addition by
Domestic value addition.
domestic DVA, domestic value addition by 20 within 5 years. Which means there are challenges, right? But I think probably that became a trigger wherein other traditional companies, startups became more active. So
Yep.
overall, entire development is happening very fast. So first question to you on this topic is, how is the entire industry situation, Vijayanand? Whether India is moving in the right direction by 2030, how much capacity India is going to create in terms of cell manufacturing, whether we are on the right path or not in terms of the overall industry. I understood the Amara Raja story.
Sure. A bit on the policy formulation.
Yeah.
Many of us have been part of the
Yeah,
dialogue, and
I know.
Niti Aayog was at the forefront of leading the dialogue. Intent was very clear.
Yeah.
Like you said, they wanted to be larger good of the society, larger good of the industry, larger good of the user community, and hence keep it as agnostic as possible.
Yeah.
But what happened is you have multiple incentive programs that the
Yeah.
government was driving.
Yes.
There was this FAME, which was
FAME.
early on,
Yeah.
FAME 1, then FAME 2, and then now PME drive kind
Yeah.
of a program. Then there was this PLI schemes, ACC PLI or Auto PLI.
Oh, yeah.
And there is also, state level encouragement and all of that.
Incentives, taxation, phase
What
manufacturing.
we have to look at is, are they complementary to each other? Now, when the technology matrix in ACC PLI came, like you said, in trying to make it agnostic,
Yeah.
it was like a 4x4 matrix.
Yeah.
You have cycle life versus energy density. And hence, when we closely looked at it, we found that there are only one or two sweet spots in that that would make sense from a market perspective.
Okay.
As against being able to be at the forefront of technology advancement. I know one of the conversation was about, we want to make it future proof. The energy densities are going up and cycle lives are going up.
Yeah.
We don't want to incentivize a technology that will become obsolete soon.
Yeah.
All that.
Yes.
But at the same time, look at where FAME subsidy was given.
Yeah.
FAME subsidy was not given for individually owned four-wheelers.
Right.
Whereas the technology matrix seemed to be focused more on creating an advanced performance cell that will actually go well with the individually owned SUV kind of a thing. Was the technology matrix looking at cells or products that will complement a two-wheeler, three-wheeler applications, which is where FAME subsidy was going? Was the technology of the cells defined they were going into, let's say, bus segment, which was where the FAME subsidy was going? We felt that they were not complementing each other. You have this 18,000 crores that is being, proposed for cell localization PLI, whereas there was 10,000 odd crores that was being proposed for FAME subsidy. So if you add up both, it should be adding up to 28,000 numerically.
Yeah.
But is the 28,000 complementing each other? We felt there was a gap. So we felt that let the technology matrix be adopted by the cell makers in a manner that the market-driven product is what is built, rather than a matrix mandated, while it appeared to be agnostic on the face of it. So there was a challenge for us to look at what is the right sweet spot for which we can build the products, and that's narrowing it down. That's narrowing it down. Moving on further about whether the industry is in the right path. I think directionally we are in the right path. But if you ask me, are we moving fast enough? That's where I think there has been a bit of challenges on the timelines. That's true with us. That's true with companies that got shortlisted or selected for PLI scheme implementation, and companies that are investing beyond the PLI scheme as well. But I don't think it is so much about the policy aspect. It's more about the global dynamics.
Right.
Inherently, when you are setting up a gigafactory, there are these usually associated challenges of a mega project, land, core trunk infrastructure, and financing, all of that, which could be true with any other large-scale investment. But specifically to the gigafactory, it's about, is there enough definitiveness about the kind of product portfolio that you want to invest behind? Because there is certain amount of rigidity of, once you establish a capacity, how fungible can you make it? if you want to change the chemistry or change the form factor, what is the additional capex top up that you need to do to make that, change? So I think, there is a lot of thought that need to be given to see which way you are going, which product portfolio are you investing behind,
Right.
which is governed and determined by what the consumers are looking for. So if 3 years ago I went to all the OEMs and asked, tell me what product you want,
Yeah.
and now if I go and, take the same input, there's been shifts on that,
Yeah.
influenced by what's happening globally. So I think that recalibration seemed to be making sure that people wanted to understand which equipment should I get, what product line should I put in, all of that. Then the capacity scale up. I know early on our discussion, you talked about what the legacy companies late to join the bandwagon. If you were too early, then you will burn out. If you're too late, you will lose out. So somewhere along the line, you got to calibrate the timing also very well. Is the demand trajectory following the projections given, let's say 5 years ago? In some segments, yes. In some other segments, no. So if I telescope forward and look at 2030, I'm of the opinion that the relative mix between a EV demand versus a ESS demand may keep shifting, because ESS comes out of a tendering process, a large project demand kind of a thing. So it comes in chunks, whereas EV is more driven by consumer adoption of mobility, e-mobility. So 2030, I might see that the demand could be around 100, 120 gigawatt hour, but not all of that can be catered to by locally made cells. The manufacturers like us have to pick and choose what cells we will make. So there is kind of a tail-end product portfolio, which will be lower in volume, very niche, that may still have to be imported. So if I assume that 70-75% of that 120 gigawatt hour has to be catered to by cell makers in India, we are looking at around 75-80 gigawatt hour of capacity would be required to be established in India. Are we in the trajectory on that? Maybe about 3-4 companies with a large capacity deployment, including us, would be part of that, players who would enable India to build a 75-80 gigawatt hour domestic capacity
By 2030.
by 2030. I would have loved that to be 150, if going by the plans that, the country was talking about 3 years ago. But 75-80 is not a bad beginning.
I think if really this happens, it's a good achievement according to me.
Absolutely.
And thank you very much for actually bringing out this perspective. I never really thought about it. Like, I have been trying to understand why policies work and why they don't work. But when FAME was there and then the PLI, ideally they should be formulated in one direction. And when I talk to some of the other battery manufacturers, I get a perspective also, like for a large battery company like yours, if you can set up the facility, you can bring the technology, you can find out a customer segment, and then you can sell them, you can get the financing, then generally investments really are not that, helpful. From schemes like PLI. So if you can do everything by your own, then I think it's okay to work even without the policy support. But yes,
so
I believe it
Preetesh,
has
on
to be in sync.
that, if I were to pick up, I think one of the things that people like you can help the industry to understand is do a mapping of what's the pricing at which people are able to import today, and what would be the kind of cost structure India will offer for a reasonably respectable project of setting up Gigafactory, considering all the dynamics associated with that, and establish a delta. As a buyer of cells, I want the delta to be positive, which means if I say X for import, I want cell made in India to be X minus delta X, right?
Yeah, theoretically, yes.
But if you look at the supply chain players like us, we sense that it could be actually X plus delta X, not X minus delta X. So people, if they are looking at buying a locally made cell for cost benefit, it's unlikely to happen for some time.